Dear education, you're not just outdated, you are defiant in your willingness to grow up. And as you dig your heels in, our children are paying the price. Wait, do y'all hear that? Oh, it's 1952 calling. They'd like their policies, their punishments, and their patriarchy back. But yeah, I said you were still using it. Take one look into any classroom with its rows of desks and its rigid rules, and you'd swear we were trying to enforce a post-war policy designed to suppress question, demand obedience, and churn out an industrial workforce. The curriculum that we teach reads like a hostage negotiation from the past. We are programming children to be quiet, compliant, and standardized. But the world is chaotic and messy and anything but standard. So let me be clear. The education system isn't just outdated. It is educational malpractice. I have taught in dusty classrooms to modern ones, from preschool to university, and no matter the country code or the zip code, one thing always remains the same, and that is that I see tired teachers and exhausted students. Do they have high test scores? Because, that's the gold standard for success. Yeah, sure, in some cases they do. But the real question that we need to be asking is, do we have emotionally resilient, well-adjusted, happy children? Because that is far more rare. I see a lot of kids each week, and more of them are coming to me with literal bags underneath their eyes. These kids are exhausted. These kids do not need another grade. What they need is for someone to ask them if they are okay, because all that stress without any grounding or coping strategies is a recipe for disaster that ends up wrapped up in a nice little layer of generational trauma. And this is impacting our communities. As an example, did you know that the United States has the highest rate of juvenile incarceration in any industrialized nation? That's not a faulty education system. That is a pipeline. And yet, we keep cramming facts into children who are too emotionally malnourished to make it through the day. We hand them tests when what we should be giving them is a space to feel, to heal, to breathe, to play, and to just be kids. And it's not just the parents and the education system. Sometimes it's the teachers too. I have seen children punished, not for being disruptive, but for being different. And the worst punishment of all is disconnection. I remember, this was many moons ago, but I was a substitute teacher in an elementary school classroom, and I remember walking into the class, and there was a little boy at the back of the classroom, and his desk was facing the wall, and over him there was a sign that said Siberia. His child had been exiled, removed from the class and the disconnection and the connection that he so desperately craved. And that day, I moved him back into the row, and I made him my special helper. And he thrived. And after class, he told me a story of pain and trauma that no child should ever have to carry. So he wasn't being punished, he was being emotionally terrorized. And the worst part is this is continuing to happen all over the world in classrooms that continue to use outdated punitive models that, quite frankly, should have been retired right alongside, I don't know, the black and white television and cigarette ads sponsored by doctors. Children are under an enormous amount of stress. Social media screams for their attention. The world is not safe. And their little tension spans are in this constant state of fight or flight, and yet we ask them to come to school, sit still, be quiet, pay attention, listen. Oh, and can you take notes for the next 45 minutes? These antiquated models do not only not account for the amount of time that a child can focus, but something far more fundamental, and that is that every child learns differently. Every child has a different learning styles, which means that the current education system has been deliberately rigged for some children to fail. And you can take it from me, because I am a tactile, kinesthetic, musical learner with ADHD. I am a teacher's worst nightmare. And for me, and kids like me, the education system is a one-man wrecking ball for self-worth, built on shame and never feeling like you are good enough. The education system never told me I was brilliant. It taught me that I was broken. And now, those outdated models, coupled with technology that is outpacing us all, is going to leave children feeling even more disconnected and unable to keep up with a rapidly changing world. And all that rage and uncertainty is going to continue to fuel the fire of bullying, violence, self-harm, addiction, and in the worst cases, suicide. And when that's not happening, they are going to scream their pain into a digital echo chamber that is going to be weaponized in chat rooms and viral moments that are going to harm themselves and others. But, instead of doing something about it and, putting emotional intelligence into our curriculum, no, what we would rather do is teach children how to fill in a bubble on a Scantron sheet so they can regurgitate useless facts and figures. And while they become more adept at that, they can't name their own emotions. Well done, education. I've seen what real education looks like. I have personally created hundreds of lesson plans rooted in emotional intelligence. And sometimes I didn't even need to change the curriculum. I simply needed to embed the message. But you know what? This is not about me. Because there's a lot of great teachers out there. One that comes to mind is the late, great Rita Pearson. If you ever saw her viral TED Talk, Every Child Needs a Champion, you know exactly what I mean. She was a powerhouse educator. She believed that relationships were the foundation of education. For her, connection wasn't a bonus. It was the curriculum. She modeled character and compassion. She taught kids, not content. And we know from the research that children in emotionally intelligent classrooms with emotionally intelligent teachers thrive because they feel safe, they feel seen, and they feel supported. We also know from the research that they have more empathy, reduced behavioral issues, and higher academic performance. In fact, children in SEL classrooms gain 11 percentile points in academic achievement, which tells us what? Emotional intelligence isn't just a people skill. It's actually a prerequisite for real success. So just take a little mental journey with me. If we know the data is undeniable and the research is clear, would anyone like to venture to guess why we continue to operate out of an outdated educational playbook? I have a thought, probably just me. I think that we have yet to find a way to monetize values. So we dismiss them and then we reclassify them as these like soft skills, and then we put them in this little, well, wouldn't that be nice to have box? I say we take them out of that box and we make values the foundation of everything that we do. You know, businesses have SOPs, right? These kind of models that keep everything moving along in the right direction. I say what we need is a sole operating procedure for education, one that supports children's hearts and minds. This kind of shared framework that teaches children how to be kind and show up in the world, rooted in love, truth, peace, right conduct, nonviolence. This could be the educational framework that teaches children how to think critically, act responsibly, develop authentic connections, and learn to act with integrity when nobody is watching. And if you are still wondering, after all of this, why does this matter? Have you seen the news? Because the world is in a mental health and moral crisis. Anxiety, depression, suicide are on the rise. And we do not have enough resources to support children in this chaos, which means that this is going to end up falling onto the backs of our teachers. So if we do not mandate values-driven education now, we are not headed toward a future. We are headed toward an epic fall. And so the only question left, how do we get off the cliff? Well, first, we need to be honest with ourselves and wake up. Because the fact is there are a lot of people invested in the education system not changing. Because the thing is that children who grow up with emotional intelligent values, they grow up to be ethical thought leaders that challenge power and corruption. They incite change. But our current system built on compliance, that churns out quiet, uninformed followers. So how do we fix it? Well, we need a new playbook, one that's inclusive, built on values, one built for a future and not for a past. Because if we continue to cling to the old ways, we're not teaching. We are tormenting and traumatizing. And I promise you, until that changes, everything else stays the same. So now I'd like you to imagine. Imagine what would happen if we rebuilt the foundation of education on values. Imagine planting a seed of love that rooted in truth, and from it grew this mighty trunk of peace, and from that trunk emerged the branches of right conduct that touched the world. Imagine from those branches the fruits of nonviolence grew. This is the harvest that restores our future. This is how we stop producing morally bankrupt achievers and start producing ethically awake human beings. Because here's the thing, education was never meant to inform. It was meant to transform. And transformation does not come off of the back of compliance. It is not rote memorization. It is not test scores. And it is certainly not punishment. It is that seed. It is the seed of love. Our sole purpose. To love and to be loved. And that, my friends, that's not a soft skill. That is the whole damn assignment for all of us.